Time to talk about the stories that have caught our attention in the morning with Tom, Swarbrick and Isla Traquair. Good morning to both of you.
Morning. Morning.
And we're starting, this is pretty much as we all went to bed, really, isn't it? Starting with the very sad story that singer Sinead O'Connor has passed away, aged 56. Now, she shot to fame in the 90s with a chart-topping single written by Prince, Nothing Compares to You. Take a look. Statement of the singer's family said, "It's great sadness. We announce the passing of our beloved Sinead. Her family and friends are devastated and requested privacy at this very difficult time." I mean...
So sad.
Singer,
Isn't it?
campaigner. She was an extraordinary person. I didn't have the chance to meet her. Several of my friends did, and obviously, coming from an Irish family, she was a proper icon. What are your thoughts, guys?
I think that video is so powerful, isn't it? And once you know more about the tragedy and the trauma of her childhood, I think it becomes even more profound, really. The circumstances in which she grew up were horrifying. She talks about her mother beating her regularly, abusing her, getting her to say that she would amount to nothing, that she was meaningless, that she didn't have any purpose in the world. And so it makes her achievements afterwards sort of even more powerful, really, that she was able to... that she was able to go on and have the career that she did.
It was a nun that spotted her talent in music and nurtured that. But even her iconic look of the shaved head, she did that when she was 20 years old, when music executives were, like, starting to try and style her and make her look more feminine. So she shaved her head, and she had a shaved head for the rest of her life.
She was stunning. Her face
Absolutely
was so beautiful.
stunning.
She so suited it. I'll never forget that first scene, that video.
Yeah.
I couldn't take my eyes off it. I couldn't stop watching it. I couldn't stop listening to it.
Yeah.
Such an icon for
me. Do you know, for me, it's the bravery, because what's interesting about her is people naturally and understandably, when they have a terrible experience with the church, move away from the whole faith. And what's really interesting about her is, I mean, she converted to Islam. Shahada Sadaqah was the name she converted to. She never lost her faith. She became disillusioned with the institution, so her issue was always with the institution. And she could have easily just walked away from the whole thing, but she always kept it. She did a performance that I watched about 3 times back-to-back last night, and actually it just, you know, I've seen it before many times, but I just rewatched it last night, and it just broke me. And she was on the RT Late Late Show, which is this iconic chat show back in Ireland, and she performed Nothing Compares to You. It's beautiful. She's all dressed in red, and we think we got a clip of it. And it's just with an orchestra, and it's so you could just hear a pin drop, and it was a proper. We watched it in makeup.
Right at the end, she doesn't look at the camera once throughout the whole performance, and right at the end, she just looks at the camera, gives it a little smile.
Yeah. We've got a clip.
She's so lovely.
Take a look. I urge anyone to watch that today. It's absolutely
What a voice.
And so many of the tributes saying nothing compares to her.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, the sadness that has touched her own life was that the love of her life, her 16-year-old son, killed himself 18 months ago. And very, very sad.
Please, if you don't mind, just allow me a little indulgence as well. This won't really get picked up on a lot of mainstream media, but the legendary tailor from SAVILE Row. And it's hard to underestimate the impact that Edward Sexton had on fashion and pop culture as we know it. So Edward passed away. Now, Edward, when I started working on X Factor, I was very lucky enough to get, you know, some nice suits made, and I met Edward several times. And Edward was he was an Elephant and Castle boy, a working class guy, but he changed fashion as we know it. He used to design suits for Mick Jagger, for the Stones, for the Beatles. He was one of the most important designers of the last 100 years. And we have to remember, when someone designs something, it's not just a kind of a pokey little room in SAVILE Row. Then it filters down. The influence filters down to the generation generations of tailors that come after him. And then on the high street, this guy was an absolute icon. He was the nicest man you could possibly meet as well.
How old was he when
he
he died?
He was 80, but he was known as the Wizard with the Scissors. Famously dressed Mick Jagger, the Beatles, Twiggy, Elton John, and just started out working-class guy. So many guys in SAVILE, based in Elephant Castle, made his first name for himself in the design in 1957 as a teenager.
That's not an indulgence, my friend. Well said.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
Have you still got the suits? And
Yeah,
you still wear them?
I've got one, just this beautiful pinstripe that he made me that's just...
Class.
Yeah, and he was always like, oh, you look good in that, boy, here you are. I remember once I came in, I was a bit of a poorly tummy, and he went out and he got me, okay, I'll get you some... He popped out to the pharmacy, came back with like a Brown's ointment or something. He was like, yeah, you just take that. I looked, it was like 70% alcohol. Something you give to me back in the day. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Thank you, guys.
Good news for Kevin Spacey, as he has been cleared on all accounts of sexual assault against 4 men following a 4-week trial. After more than 12 hours of deliberation, the jury acquitted the Oscar-winning US actor on 9 charges relating to 4 men between 2001 and 2013. He had been accused of abusing his fame and power to carry out attacks during his tenure of artistic director at London's Old Vic Theatre. I mean, what does this mean for him now? Will he be able to go straight back into filming?
This has been a cloud hanging over him since, actually, it was just after the Me Too story broke, when Harvey Weinstein, and then it was just weeks later that the accusations initially in America started towards Spacey. In fact, there was a trial back then. It was an actor who had come forward, much older, but saying at the time he was 14 years old when there was an incident. Now, at the time, Spacey said, look, I don't remember, it may have been drunken, inappropriate behaviour. I think what Spacey's admitted in these multiple, and I should say he's cleared of that and cleared of everything else, in every case that's come to court or been mentioned, he admits he is... now, let me get the exact wording, because he's been accused of being a sexual predator, but he's saying he's more affectionate, making romantic passes. So this is where there's
like
been
a
difference in things. And he's said that his accusers have been jumping on a bandwagon to kind of target his money and reputation. So he says... He's had people waiting in the wings to offer him work. And he'd said prior to the end of this trial that as soon as it's done, if he's cleared, he'll be straight back into work. But I'm not so sure that's going to happen. I think there'll have to be a period of time. And he has accused some of, they didn't want anything to do with me because they thought they'd be cancelled. He was dropped by his agents, his publicists, etc., as soon as all these accusations came forward. And I should say there are a lot of accusations. There's many, many of them.
He's not going to work because of the strikes, for one.
Well, yes,
going on in America,
true.
So that's not going to be happening, is it? What do you think?
But from his perspective, you'd want to get back to work as quickly as possible, haven't you? Been through this hell.
Everyone is innocent until proven guilty, and he has been found not guilty of all these charges in court.
Well, he's innocent, isn't he? He's completely innocent.
Absolutely. But there's going to be a question here about whether or not now, if he goes back to work and he starts doing all the films and what have you, whether or not there's going to be a cloud lingering because of the accusations. Now, I don't think that's particularly fair. They've been heard in court and he's been proven not guilty. But there is going to be a question about how long they linger.
I think we've got a clip of a statement that he made, I think just as outside court, just afterwards. Take a look.
I would like to say that I'm enormously grateful to the jury for having taken the time to examine all of the evidence and all of the facts carefully before they reach their decision. And I am humbled by the outcome today.
I think it was from yesterday, just outside court. So next up, we're going to talk about supermarket shoplifting. This is basically from the Co-op, where they've said that antisocial behaviour, crime and shoplifting has stored more than 1,000 criminal occurrences taking place every day in the last 6 months. Branch managers have reported terrifying incidents where a group of masked, armed and youths smashed through glass doors, jumped over kiosks and ransacked the shelves. The supermarket chain feels that criminals have freedom to loot after police failed to respond to 71% of serious crimes reported. Tom.
This is the latest now in a number of retailers who have said this is a real problem here. The boss of John Lewis was in the papers the other day saying that their stores had experienced it. I had the chief exec of Iceland on my programme the other day saying that their stores are experiencing this effectively a kind of looting, really. And it doesn't seem that people are afraid that they're ever going to be caught because they sweep the shelves clear of stuff.
They're not scared at all, are they? They're literally
shocking.
coming in, stealing and going straight out.
And these supermarket chains are saying, we call the police, we ring them up and say, listen, you've got to get down here. and they don't respond with the kind of verve or speed that you would want a police force to respond with. And I'm afraid it is contributing to a sense that people have now of lower level, and by that I mean, you know, I don't think it's lower level for the people being assaulted in these stores, but you know what I mean. Shoplifting, burglary, bike theft, car theft. People's sense is the police aren't really there when they need them to go after and catch the people who are perpetrating these crimes. How many burglaries, how many hundreds of burglaries a day in the UK are going unsolved? I do think it contributes to, unfairly or not, a lack of trust in the police.
You had this on the show the other day. You were discussing that housebreakings, the police don't even turn up, or they, you know, very few of them are solved. And the same thing, if people know that there's no deterrent, basically, that they're unlikely to get charged. And you can see there, that video, there was a lot of them. Yeah. And you know what it's like. I'm sure the mentality of, if it was just one or two of them, if one of them's going, come on, let's do this, they'd be like, nah, nah.
Feel it in the air,
but
the mob
if there's
kind of
a
thing,
group,
can't you?
there's the mob mentality of, let's go and overpower them. But think of those poor the security guards.
Right.
You know, there's some of them have talked. There's anecdotes of, you know, people just opening their jacket and there's a knife there, and you're not going to, you know, have a fight with them over.
They don't get paid to do that.
No,
they don't get paid to be abused, and it's just not on.
It's a sad reflection of where we're at, and we absolutely know there are people who are desperate, cost of living, etc. And we've spoken about it before. You know, bars of chocolate being put in things, but this is another level.
Away from
exactly. This is another level. There's people who are genuinely struggling, and there's people who are using this as an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thing is, I know statistically, police on the beat doesn't make a difference, but in my head, I can't think it would. I can't think that wouldn't make a difference.
Absolutely right.
If there's police outside, literally patrolling along a high street, I can't for 1 minute think that would be happening.
And what you want, I think, what people want is the best possible use of that police officer's time.
Completely.
So wandering around the streets where there's nothing really happening is a bit of a waste of that. But if you know that these stores have been affected before, get some coppers down there, get them walking around, get them circulating, get them visible, get them seen, so that you're not on the end of the phone having to go, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get, you know, that they're there and ready. And I do feel sorry for police officers, the frontline police officers trying to manage this, because their time is so stretched, they are under a lot of pressure, they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. But this can't carry on, this stuff can't carry on.
OK, let's move on to this story. King Charles met his Royal Highness yesterday.
Very good. What?
Yes, his Royal Highness.
What?
Have a look at this picture, it's hilarious. When he toured
the
Flower Show with Camilla, they visited a 140-year-old event that showcases the skills of royal workers on the estate in Norfolk. And this is the pie. This was in the category of a dainty dish to be set before a king. On seeing it, Camilla said, "That looks much like my husband."
Oh, my.
With a laugh, Charles playfully remarked that the pie looks like something out of Wallace and Gromit. I mean, I can see the resemblance, I'll be honest.
This is hilarious. Apparently, she sort of said, you know, darling, come and look at this very, very interesting pie. Obviously knowing. Well, he is right in his assessment. But can I just say, how proud
Clue was the crown that he was the king.
Which child made it? There's got to be a child, hasn't it? Surely.
How proud would you be, though? It's made all the news that they're pie.
I mean,
It's not so dainty.
What's in the
It's got the Cristiano Ronaldo statue vibes, that. That statue of Ronaldo.
Forget Brexit, there are more major issues dividing the nation. So this is basically geographical, I guess, bragging rights and the words and vernacular use. So is it a jam or cream first on the scone? We're not even getting there. We've only got 45 seconds. Is it dinner or tea? And
Tea. Dinner.
Where is truly the home of British music? Researchers found that 41% of people say they argue with someone over local traditions. So let's go really quickly. Scongate, jam or cream first?
Jam.
Jam.
Cream.
Cream. Dinner or tea?
Dinner.
Tea.
Bread roll or balm/cob?
Cob.
Bread roll.
Bread roll.
Cob.
Ketchup or brown sauce?
Ketchup.
Depends on what. Depends on what.
Best chip shop topping, curry sauce, gravy, ketchup.
Mayonnaise.
Curry sauce.
Cheese.
Cheese.
That's good shout. Alison, the answer to this. The home of the best UK curry.
That's obviously Birmingham.
Come on,
Obviously
Birmingham.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Isla.
Thank you.